Good afternoon. My name is Nadine To, and I'm the Business Development and Trade Lead at the Trade and Investment Facilitation Project. I will be your moderator for today's webinar under the title Call for Partnerships, which is dedicated to the knowledge economy and service sector. Our today's agenda will be as follows. We will start with Dr. Nadine Shmele, who will share with us a brief overview of the TIF project. Right after that, a technical presentation on the knowledge economy and service sector will be presented by Mazen Shaheen, followed by the TIF annual program statement, Call for Partnerships, and ending up with a demo, which will be facilitated by Jinan Shalhoub. بس بدي أعمل نوت إنه الكول فور بارتنرشيب رح نشرح فيها بالتفصيل كيف تقدروا تقدموا على TIF project. If you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box. بآخر السيشن رح نجرب نجاوب على most of the questions، وأي سؤال ما تجاوب عليه رح نحضر all list of answers ورح نحطهم على TIF form site. Now we will begin with our Deputy Chief of Party and Chief Technical Officer, Dr. Nadine Shmele, who will give us an overview on the TIF project. Dr. Shmele, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadine, and thank you all for attending today the Trade and Investment Partnership webinar. I'll start by the project overview. رح نعطيكم فكرة عن TIF project. The Trade and Investment Facilitation TIF project is designed to enhance economic opportunities by facilitating trade and investment in targeted business sectors, resulting in job creation and increasing income for Lebanese citizens. TIF can go up to 5 years and $70 million, starting with a base period of 3 years and $20 million. We will put our resources together مع القطاع الخاص to develop the sector and relaunch activities and get Lebanon out of this crisis. TIF objectives. Under TIF, we have 3 objectives or 3 components. Objective 1 is increasing export of goods and services. هون عم نقول goods يعني it's manufacturing, it's product, and it's services يعني knowledge economy and business services. Objective 2 is facilitating access to finance. Objective 3 is improving business and investment enabling environment من إلهم BIEE related to policies, regulation, and reforms. Now for TIF methodology, we will be implementing a market-led approach, يعني بنشوف market demand, and a consultative process in partnership with the private sector. مع القطاع الخاص, TIF role will be mainly as a facilitator. At the macro level, policy and reform, TIF will engage with the private sector actors to assess or address BIEE issues. TIF will be preparing the field to be ready for implementing the reforms once the macro and political environment will be ready. For the meso level, the project, yani sector and subsector, the project selected 4 productive sectors: agro-food processing, manufacturing, knowledge economy and services, tourism and hospitality. Today we'll go through the knowledge economy sector findings. Next week, on the March 23rd, we'll be presenting the agro-food and manufacturing partnership webinar. And the week after, on March 30th, we'll have the tourism webinar. At the micro level, the partnership, today we'll go through all the details, meaning TIF potential partner, the criteria, and how to apply. For TIF approach, during this phase, we know the current context, the political instability, COVID-19 challenges, financial and economic crisis. So in phase 1, TIF will be focusing first on stabilizing the sector in order to maintain jobs, restrain loss of human capital, brain drain, and reduce key company closures. In phase 2, TIF will be finding opportunities for growth. How? By facilitating export, import substitution, outsourcing that will help to create jobs and impacting the whole value chain or sector. By adapting to the new emerging behaviors such as digitalization and supporting shift of skills to new emerging jobs. Phase 3, it's the recovery and relaunching phase by preparing the ground through a series of new policies, regulation and reforms, and be ready to brand Lebanon in key productive sectors and have the system in place for attracting investment. Now, let's discuss the partnership. Who are TIF potential partners? Who could be our partner? Any private entity could be a TIF partner, clusters, group of enterprises, associations, syndicates, service providers, NGOs. هلا إذا لاحظتوا هون ما حطينا individual firms, but individual firms can still apply if they have a plan to impact the sector or a cluster or a group of enterprises. So هون عم نركز على نقطة إنه أو الإمباكت لازم يكون مو يعني on a cluster or a group of enterprise or a sector. For TIF partnership criteria, أكيد رح نرجع نروح فيهم more in details with our colleague Jinan. But in summary and to highlight, it should be within TIF selected sectors, commit to invest, produce and hire in Lebanon, have an export or import substitution potential, generate economic impact and development for the community, and أكيد to present a valid business case. Now we'll go later on in details on how to apply to the partnership program. Thank you all and looking forward to work with all of you in the near future. Thank you and back to you, Nadine.
Thank you, Nadine. Since the time that TIF project has been awarded to the AI in August 2020, a market analysis has been conducted with sector experts and key players on each of TIF selected sectors that were mentioned by Nadine earlier. Mazen Shanin, our Senior Business Development Specialist for the Knowledge Economy and Service sector, will be briefing us on the sector analysis findings, major challenges, opportunities, and will also highlight some of the key identified areas for intervention. Mazen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Nadine. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here with us. So in this presentation, we'll start by summarizing our findings in the sector analysis, then move on to discussing some of the key challenges and opportunities, and then we'll end by going over the main areas of intervention, as well as the implementation methodology. So let's get started with the first section. So in our current context, the knowledge economy includes ICT, or information and communication technologies, as well as media and creative services. These two represent the largest components, and business services. Now, under ICT, there are obviously a variety of subsectors. The most promising ones that were identified as part of our analysis are system integrators that bring together different systems and infrastructures using IT techniques, various IT techniques, independent software vendors, or ISVs that are mainly involved in software development, and startups across all verticals. Under the media sector, prominent subsectors include digital media, as well as production and post-production, in addition to the other traditional ones like advertising and broadcasting. Under creative services, we're including visual and performing arts, as well as design. And then on the business services side, subsectors include outsourcing, whether it's business process outsourcing, information technology outsourcing, as well as consulting. Now, looking specifically at the performance of the ICT sector, we can see that it has declined significantly over the last 3 years by about 79%, of course, due to the various crises that hit the country. And it stood last year at around $410 million. Now, this decline was mainly driven by the system integrators component, which is the largest. And we can see that it has declined by about 108%, down to about $108 million. Now, that said, of course, there are some promising subsectors that witness growth during this phase. Independent software vendors grew by 18%, startups by 40%. Now, in the case of startups, of course, the total number of startups has certainly declined, but this decline was offset by a handful of well-performing startups. Now, in the case of the media sector, the latest available data dates back to 2018. Back then, the sector was worth about $465 million, and it had been growing at about 2% per year. However, similar to ICT, we can expect a similar declining trend over the last 3 years, of course. And looking at some of the subsectors, of course, the declining revenues from advertising no doubt impacted the performance of broadcasting and publishing, which are directly dependent on advertising. Production and post-production, as well as digital media, can be considered exceptions. Lebanon remains a regional hub in production and post-production, and digital media had already been growing at a faster pace than the other subsectors. And these two subsectors specifically have a really high potential for exports as well as job creation. Now, looking at some of the challenges and opportunities, of course, which many of you are already aware of, specifically the weak physical infrastructure remains at the top of the list, with internet, of course, internet speeds that continue to remain a major burden, the poor legal framework where major laws are in need of an overhaul, the unfriendly and highly bureaucratic business environment, the unstructured capital market, the limited size of the local market, weak online and payment services, mainly due to the regulations on the fintech sector, almost inexistent R&D, which is a key component of the knowledge economy. And lastly, of course, the education system in Lebanon is a very good one. However, it needs to be better adapted to suit the needs of the market. Now, of course, there are many opportunities. First of all, accessing promising new markets. There are many export destinations, whether in the GCC, Europe, North America, Africa, that remain untapped. And so accessing them would bring tremendous opportunities. Increasing diaspora engagement. Of course, the Lebanese diaspora has a lot to offer, and it would really be highly worthwhile to target its members. Building a Lebanese digital identity for the sector through branding Lebanon, improving capacity building and sector competitiveness, facilitating access to finance and payment services, more so now in the middle of this financial crisis. And last but not least, addressing this very long list of policy reforms. Now let's head over to the last section. And here I'll start by saying that the areas of intervention were identified as part of the sector analysis and really could have a positive impact on the sector's growth and its overall performance. So these areas of intervention aim to address some of the challenges and opportunities that were identified before. And here I say some because obviously we are aware that not all challenges can be addressed and that ultimately TIF cannot replace the role of the government. And they also serve as the basis for establishing partnerships with ecosystem players. So in other words, partnerships between TIF and ecosystem players will have to satisfy or to fulfill all of these areas of intervention combined. So here is a quick glance at the different types of intervention that we identified. Of course, it's not limited to those. They include promoting access to new markets, for example, facilitating the organization of trade missions, creating market linkages between ecosystem players, suppliers, clients, etc., developing trade promotion and marketing, for example, this national branding campaign, increasing capacity building through training and mentorship, contributing to developing new products and services or improving existing ones, developing aggregator platforms such as online marketplaces, sector catalogs, etc., fostering ecosystem networking, research and analysis, legal framework improvements, and last but not least, of course, facilitating access to finance. Now, the implementation methodology consists of 3 phases. First, of course, applicants are invited to submit their development plans through FormSite, our platform, which is now live. This phase, along with the two others, the co-creation and the assessment, will be detailed and explained by my colleague Jinan in the next presentation. So with that, thank you very much for your attention, and I'll give the floor back to Nadine.
Thank you, Mazen. Now we have reached the final part of the presentation with Jinan Shalhoub. Jinan is holding the position of Senior Grant Specialist in the TIF project. During her part, she will give us an overview on the TIF Annual Program Statement, Call for Partnerships, which became available online on the 10th of March. And at the end, a live demonstration will be performed on how to apply your development plan through TIF form site. Jinan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this webinar. So in this presentation, we will introduce you to our annual program statement, or APS, the definition, the process, the details. Also, at the end of the presentation, we will perform a live demonstration on FormSite and try all together to see how to submit a development plan on FormSite. So, what is an APS? An APS is a detailed notice of funding opportunity. أو بكل بساطة دعوة للببليك منخبرهم فيها إنه في funding opportunity ضمن إطار وشروط معينة. على الببليك إنه يطلع على هالإطار وعلى الشروط ويشوف إذا بتطابق أو إذا مناسبة للأنتيتي وللمشروع تبعه. إذا مناسبة بقدم development plan accordingly. So APS is open to creative solutions to different problems addressing our objectives at TIF. APS is publicly advertised والهدف من هالشيء هو إنه نقدر نوصل لأكبر عدد ممكن من المهتمين. Development plans are accepted and evaluated on a rolling basis for up to 1 year or until the funding is finished. أما بالنسبة للprocess, it is a highly competitive process. وبس نقول competitive process بنعني إنه the higher the impact of your concept paper, يعني the higher the chances إنه تكون competitive. So it is a highly competitive process and it holds several layers of approvals, of reviews, and evaluations. So at first, we start with the announcement. So TIF announces the APS, which we already did. Interested entities submit the competitive development plans online on our platform, which is FormSite. Then TIF will evaluate eligible development plans. TIF will notify applicants whether they will proceed for co-creation or not. TIF then will facilitate USAID compliance workshops. TIF will co-create with the applicants to develop a technical and a cost application to be later sent to USAID for review and approval. And of course, upon USAID approval, we can then sign the award. So as some of you may know by now, the APS is broadly announced and is now posted on TIF's social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It is also posted on Dalil Madani and other relevant channels and websites like L'Orient Le Jour, L'Orient Today, and LBCI mobile applications. So interested applicants can access this through this ad and apply on FormSite. So interested entities can apply through clicking on this link يلي حتشوفوه بكل هول الاد or by simply scanning the QR code يلي عم بتشوفوه on the right side of the screen. We will go through this process during our live demonstration at the end of this presentation. Entities are strongly encouraged to read the APS document before applying لأنه ال APS document بيحمل كثير من الانفورميشن يلي ممكن تجاوبكم على تساؤلاتكم. And this APS will cover the period from March 10, 2021 until March 9, 2022. So بالنسبة لFormSite أو هاللينك حياخدكم على FormSite. نحن طورنا FormSite بشكل كثير دايناميك وبطريقة تقدر تعطي الابليكانت a direct notification in case منه eligible. يعني example إذا المشروع المقترح ما بيطال ولا قطاع من قطاعات TIF دغري رح يوصل له notification من FormSite إنه he cannot proceed with the application and therefore he is not eligible. However, upon submitting a complete a development plan on form site, the applicant will receive a confirmation email that they have submitted a complete development plan. رح يوصل له كمان email PDF للdevelopment plan اللي قدمها، ورح يوصلنا كمان simultaneously نحن هيدا الايميل to proceed with evaluation. وللتذكير انه all questions مثل ما قالت نادين all questions must only be emailed على grants@tifproject.com. وكثير مهم انه نحفظ هيدا الديت May 31st 2021. رح نستقبل الاسئله until this date لانه من بعد هيدا الديت رح يبطل فينا نجاوب على اسئلتكم. وللتذكير انه كل هاي الاسئله والاجوبه رح تكون محطوطه على فورم سايت، والهدف من هيدا الشيء والترانسبيرنسي ولحتى الكل يكون عنده equal access to information. اما بالنسبه للايفالويشن only eligible development plans will be evaluated. وباي eligibility we mean two things. انه يكون الابليكنت قدم a complete development plan، يعني مجاوب على كل الاسئله، بالاضافه لانه الابليكنت قطع restricted party screening which we will go through again by our compliance workshops. So the evaluations will be conducted on a regular basis throughout the year based and according to the below selection criteria اللي كمان فيكم تشوفون بالتفاصيل بالAPS document. Export potential or import substitution, impact قديش في jobs created بهيدا الكونسبت، قديش رح يكون في beneficiaries، feasibility and sustainability، قديش هالكونسبت cost efficient، قديش ممكن يكون هيدا البزنس prominent من بعد ما تنتهي هيدا البارتنرشيب، attribution and additionality، قديش essential our intervention لهالكونسبت اللي عم تقترحوه، entity commitment and risk assessment. risk assessment فينا ناخذ example الانفايرمنتال impact اللي ممكن يصدر عن هيدا الكونسبت وتوابع. Then within no later than a month TIF رح يبلغ الابليكنت بنتيجة الايفالويشن whether it is a go for or not, and approved development plans will be sent to USAID for a green light or for an initial go ahead. And under this APS رح ينتج كثير من البارتنرشيبس، منها مثلا in kind grants where TIF will procure goods and services on behalf of the grantee، أو مثلا fixed amount awards where TIF will reimburse the grantee upon predefined milestones and deliverables. Investment facilitation may also result from this APS. TIF will offer linkages to sector-specific financial advisory service companies to improve Lebanese businesses' investment readiness and facilitate their access to finance. من بعد ما ناخد الجرين لايت then TIF will submit a technical and financial application with USAID for review and approval, and upon USAID approval TIF will proceed with the reward signing. So to ensure that the APS process is fair, open and transparent, all questions مثل ما ذكرنا should only be addressed to grants@tifproject.com no later than May 31st, and all questions and answers will be published on form site on a weekly basis for all to review. So again, إذا في أسئلة you can drop them in the Q&A box. We will try to answer بعض من الأسئلة during this presentation، وطبعا رح يكونوا posted on form site at a later stage. So here's the form site link. من هون you can access the form site and try to submit a development plan, or you can simply scan this QR code. فيكم بكل بساطة توجهوا الفون كامز على هذا ال QR code. It will show like a pop-up message on the top of your phone بياخدكم على الفورم site, or you can follow me here. So here's the landing page. في عنا information on TIF's objectives, our approach, the sectors اللي حنشتغل فيهم, our eligibility criteria, and links to relevant documents such as the APS document, وفيكم كمان تبعتوا ال APS document through email. You can access the full set of questions اللي كنا عم نحكي عليهم من شوي through those links and how to apply. There's also an important feature on form site يلي هي save and return. So at some point إذا الابليكانت عم بيعبي الابليكيشن تبعه أو الديفلوبمنت بلان تبعه وكان في information يمكن بده وقت ليحصل عليها, he can save whatever دخل على هيدا الفورم سايت and return later لحتى يكفي البروجرس وحتى يكفي الديفلوبمنت بلان تبعه. And it is very important to mention that FormSite is a secure website and all data and information اللي حتفوتوها regarding your concept is confidential وما حدا عنده access عليها إلا TIF team. So this is the list of questions. أول 6 أسئلة هن general information عن your entity. رح نجرب نعبي سوا. Title of development plan, applicant entity name, type of entity. هيدي مهمة لحتى at a later stage نعرف شو نوعية الدوكيومنتس يلي لازم نطلبها من الانتيتي. Authorized representative or the point of contact name. Email address للتذكير انه هيدا الفيلد بس بيحمل email addresses and it's very important انه ما يكون في typos لانه هيدي وسيله التواصل الوحيده اللي بيناتنا. وديفينتلي الفون نمبرز كمان ننتبه انه ما يكون في typos هون. Now questions 7 to 11 هن related اكثر to eligibility. يعني is your entity registered in Lebanon؟ إذا حطينا no رح يوصلنا notification message إنه you are not eligible to receive support from TIF. If you hit on yes رح تاخدك على السؤال التالي. Is your entity registered in any other country outside Lebanon؟ احتمال. وإذا حطيتوا yes بدكم تذكروا بأي منطقة موجودة بأي بلد. Will your development plan address any of the following sectors, whether agro-food processing, manufacturing, knowledge economy and services, and tourism and hospitality? كمان إذا بتحطوا no بتكون الconcept paper ما بتطال ولا قطاع من قطاع TIF, hence you are ineligible. So, yes. وبتذكروا شو هو السector upon others. وفيكم تشتغلوا بأكثر من one sector, of course. What is the time frame to implement your development plan? هول هن examples. بس إذا بنحط more than 24 months رح نكون ineligible ورح يبطل فينا نكفي تعبئة الكونسبت لأنه مثل ما ذكرت نادين البيس بيريود تبع TIF project هي 3 سنين. Therefore ما فينا ناخذ جرانتات تتخطى هيدي البيريود. Are you willing to confidentially share information with TIF and USAID? Yes. وهون في bubble. كثير مهم نعرف شو هي نوعية هيدا الانفورميشن اللي عم نطلبها من الابليكانتس. فيها تكون فيها value of sales and data on jobs created and linkages and financial data. But مع التذكير again إنه كل هيدا الانفورميشن confidential وبس TIF team عنده access عليها. Will your development plan support growth? Will your development plan support grow businesses or increase sales in Lebanon? Facilitate access to finance? Facilitate business and investment enabling environment? Are you seeking technical assistance? Are you seeking to support to increase production capacity? Are you seeking debt? Are you seeking equity investment? What is the estimated total budget of your proposed plan in USD? كمان please هون ننتبه على انه الفيجرز يكونوا مضبوطين وما يكون في typos. What is the estimated USD value you are requesting from TIF? And an important question, will your entity be able to co-invest in this development plan in the first 2 years? If you click on yes, لازم تحددوا قد ايه هو المبلغ. Can you implement this development plan without TIF support? Will your development plan increase sales locally? If yes, لازم تحددوا بالدروب داون list قد ايه المبلغ المتوقع. Will your development plan increase export sales? كمان إذا حطيتوا yes بدكم تحددوا المبلغ من الدروب داون إضافة للعدد البلاد أو فيها تكون to be determined. Will your development plan support import substitution in Lebanon? كمان بنعدد شو هن البرودكتس اللي عم نحكي عنهم. Will your development plan create jobs for the Lebanese citizens? Again, إذا بنحط yes بدنا نحط العدد. What is your geographic focus of your proposed development plan? فيها تكون across Lebanon وفيكم تختاروا a shorter region. Are you willing to collaborate with other entities such as syndicates, associations, or private firms for TIF support? أما بالنسبة للسؤال 30 فهو a brief description of your past performance in this type of proposed work or your business model and business history. You can here provide information on sales, طبعاً confidential, including clients and markets, profit for the past 3 years, etc. وبالنسبة لآخر سؤال فهو technical approach, the concept itself. This section should include background, statement of needs, objectives, main activities, type of support needed, results, etc. So, once بتخلصوا تعبئة كل الانفورميشن you hit on next. أكيد إذا في fields ناقصين رح يخبركم form site بهيدا الشيء. آخر page. How did you learn about this funding opportunity? فيكم تذكروا يمكن social media, يمكن صحف, يمكن دليل مدني. I confirm that I am authorized to submit this development plan for consideration on behalf of the entity named in question 2. يعني أنتوا عم بتمثلوا هيدا entity and you are authorized to do so. كمان you confirm that the information provided is accurate to the best of your knowledge. So once you're done, you hit submit, and now you will receive both an email and a final message that you successfully submitted your development plan. TIF will evaluate your submission and will get back to you again within no later than 1 month. And if you do not receive an email confirmation, especially إذا عبيتوا a complete development plan وما وصلكم an email confirmation, please contact us on grants@tifproject.com. We will try to help you. So that was it. Thank you so much for listening, and we are looking forward to receiving your applications. Now, back to you, Nadine.
Thank you, Jinan. I will go now to read some of the shared questions, and we'll try to reply to some of them. But as stated at the beginning of the session, for the remaining unanswered questions, we will make sure that all answers will be published on form site Q&A section. I'll start with the first question. Can I apply a development plan for my company? I'll answer this question myself. Private company can apply, but we need to make sure, they need to make sure that their development plan have an impact on the sector, as we mentioned, or a group of enterprise to meet TIF objectives and the criteria. And again, the TIF objective and criteria are published on the form site. So you will find the information there in case you didn't recall that. I'll go to another question. Okay, how can I have access to finance through the program? I will invite Dr. Shmeli to answer this question, please.
Okay, for the access to finance under the project, as I mentioned before, we have the component 2, which is access to finance. So we facilitate, and I mentioned in my first slide that our role is facilitators. So we facilitate access to finance. We do not provide direct funds under this component. But to be able to facilitate access to finance, the company or the enterprise should fit the TIF selection criteria and have an impact on the sector. So you have to make sure that you are following the EPS and you are meeting the criteria of TIF and the impact on the sector or on a group of enterprise. Nadine.
Thank you. Mazen, I think this question, you can answer it. If I have a full development plan, do I still need to take part of co-creation phase?
So the short answer is yes. The online application form is a shortened version of the complete application. So therefore, the co-creation phase will be an essential one where we will sit with you and we will really go into the details of the development plan with the technical team, with the grants team. We will set your, make sure that your action items align with TIF's objectives. We will set the deliverables, the milestones, the budget, of course, as well as the time frame for implementation.
Thank you, Mazen. Jinan, I have, I guess, 2 questions for you. I start with the first one. After I apply, when I will get the support?
It is estimated إنه البروسيس ياخد up to 3 months and a half 3 أشهر ونص من وقت ما ينعمل submission للdevelopment plan لحد ما نمضي الأورد ممكن ياخد ل3 أشهر ونص. طبعاً يعني assuming إنه الكونسبت أو الdevelopment plan is complete. So مع الأخذ بعين الاعتبار إنه في process طويل في several layers of evaluations, approvals, back and forth, co-creation, workshops ممكن ينعملوا. So هذا كله بياخد وقت. In addition to due diligence والمستندات اللي ممكن نطلبها هذا كله بياخد وقت. So it is estimated ب3 أشهر ونص إذا كانت الapplication of course a complete one.
Plus or minus. Thank you. The second question, will USAID have ownership in my project?
Okay, so neither USAID nor DAI will have ownership or shares in your entity. بس مع التذكير إنه in case under this partnership there is a provision of equipment or items, whole equipment or items remain under USAID ownership or title. يعني ملكيتهم بتضل ل USAID ولكن الكاستدي للانتيتي يلي هي اور بارتنر لحين ما ينتهي الاورد او لحين ما ينتهي هيدا البارتنرشيب او الجرانت اجريمنت بير سي وكمان لحين ما ناخذ USAID approval على transfer of title of ownership لهول الايكويبمنت او لهول الايتمز. بس definitely لا DAI ولا USAID رح يكون عندهم shares او ownership بالانتيتي او whomever was the applicant on the entity.
Great, thank you. I'll answer this question myself. How can I join a cluster or group of enterprise? TIF, one of the TIF objectives is really to invite you all to work collaboratively, especially people working in the same sector or the sectors can support each other. Therefore, we invite to make a group of enterprise can do a development plan to apply jointly, but they need to choose among each other one representative company or a service provider company that you will all benefit from its assistance. So, for example, if you are like 3-4 companies, you work in the same sector and you have a development plan to increase your exports or to achieve any of the TIF objectives or to boost your sector, so you can jointly do the business development and one of you apply and everyone will benefit, or you can work with a service provider who's gonna provide the service to you and apply jointly. So this is how we're gonna work. So thank you. Another question. Okay, I'll answer this question as well myself. Is there a specific budget allocated for each business development proposal? And what is the maximum amount I can have? There is no maximum amount allocation. It depends on your development plan, impact on the sector, contribution to TIF objectives and to the sector. So we didn't put a ceiling on the amount. Okay, I think this will be the last question. Can we still be eligible to apply if our business development proposal will only increase sales locally? Dr. Shmele, if you can give us a response, please.
Yeah, one of the criteria is to increase export or import substitution. Import substitution هي للlocal market. So any plan that will help increasing sales in the local market related to import substitution, يعني تصنيع product أو product to replace the imported one, أكيد is part of our plan. But it has as well to meet the criteria of selection واللي هي موجودة بالAPS, and to have an impact على السector. So as much as the development plan تبعيتكم is impacting enterprises, cluster أو sector, so it's gonna be a good development plan for TIF. So yes, for the local market as long as it's import substitution. بس كمان هون بدي اذكر انه عندنا under our sectors يلي هو tourism ما فيه import substitution and it's increasing sales in the local market. اوكي نادين في غير سؤالات؟
Okay, we will stop now because we will make sure to publish all answers on form sites. And some of the questions were answered live. Now we have answered most of the questions, but in case you have any additional question, please, you can share it until 31st of May 2021, as mentioned by Jinan, using the email grants@tifproject.com. You can see it on the screen. And of course, the answers will be posted on the form site, even of some of unanswered questions that were sent today. Now, at the end of today's session, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to be with us. And one more time, I want you to invite you all to log in into our APS form site. You find the link now in the chat box or on our social media platform. It is posted there. Our social media platforms, they are visible now to you on the screen. Please make sure to follow us. And share with us your development plans supporting the knowledge economy sector or any of other TIF selected sectors in matter of increasing export of Lebanese goods and services, enhancing the business and investment enabling environment, or facilitating access to finance. Please note as well that we will have a session on the 23rd of March dedicated for the agro-food processing and manufacturing. And on the 30th of March, a session dedicated to tourism and hospitality sector. Don't forget to register. Thank you for attending and looking forward to seeing you again soon. All the best for now.